Do you know the Muffin Man? The Muffin Man? The Muffin Man? Do you know the Muffin Man who lives on Drury Lane? It's a song known throughout the English-speaking world with many regional variations. It featured prominently in the first two Shrek films, of course. Uh, it name checks a very real London street, Drury Lane. But who was the legendary Muffin Man? I mean, I learned the song as a kid. It was taught to me at school, from television, from I think my mother even. You might have taught it to your grandchildren, your great grandchildren. You may be teaching it to your young children today. But do you truly know the Muffin Man? Was the Muffin Man simply a playground nonsense song? Or is there something more to it? Nobody is really sure, but the clues point towards its origins on the early 19th century stage. The earliest written record of the nursery rhyme is from a manuscript of 1820, or at least it is if you believe every online account that has rewritten Wikipedia. Actually, the song can be readily traced a year earlier, roughly, to a manuscript from 1819 called Life, High and Low, a curious tome that recounts some of the characters and ballads of the day, and included a footnote about the dandy Muffin Man of Drury Lane, and the prints and lyrics, much as they are still sang today. So the book tells us something about a anonymous performer closely associated with the song. He is a migrated coxcomb and a leader of fashion and attic entertainment and cellar balls as promiscuous clubs and a gallow hops. So you take it from there if you want. So if we're reading it right, it seems the Muffin Man started out as a kind of trashy stage song performed in seedy venues. Okay? Indeed, people have been singing about the Muffin Man for quite some time, and in quite rarefied circles, a comedic song about the trade was a staple on the stage from 1796 and was even performed to the king in 1802. Its lyrics are entirely different to those of the nursery rhyme, but it may have had some influence on the anonymous singer mentioned in 1819 source. So back then, the ditty was caught on in a big way. It became a favorite children's song and was adapted into numerous party games. It's still a well-known rhyme 200 years later. But the song does have an alternative origin story, which often gets an airing in more credulous corners of the internet or throughout the world. The Muffin Man is said is the nickname of a 16th century child murderer. The ditty was supposedly written to warn kids away from Drury Lane, where the notorious Muffin Man would lure them into their deaths with sweet food. The Sweeney Todd-esque story seems to be a modern invention of that, but that hasn't stopped numerous websites reporting it as fact. Okay? There were hundreds of them. Muffin men could be found all over town in the 19th century, knocking on doors to see if anyone wanted to buy their baked goods and generally annoying everyone with their loud bells. This was at a time when only wealthy households would have had access to a decent oven or was a big market for such hawking. It's tradition that it continued well into the 20th century. In the 1930s, Muffin Men were still to be sighted in Covent Garden and taken as a sign of winter. So they're talking about this in England in case you really don't understand. If you're picturing a bulbous confection packed with blueberries or chocolate chips, then you're scraping with a spiritual spatula. The Denzians of 19th century London would have been more likely to eat English muffins, the savory crumpet-like breads still commonly toasted for breakfast today. You probably don't know a muffin man of Drury Lane today because there is certainly no muffin specialist on that famous old street. A couple of cafes at the northern end no doubt sell ready-made cupcakes, but neither place on the Muffin Man link. So there's business opportunity right there. Open a shop called The Muffin Man on Drury Lane and watch the tourists flock in, okay? But needless to say that the song, as the most horrifying origins, was a Muffin Man who went around, made muffins back in this period of time, tie a string with them, be down Drury Lane, maybe an off-site laneway in the dark, creepy, put the muffin down on the ground, and would call out for children to come and get the muffin. As the children would come closer to get the muffin, he would pull the muffin in on the string closer and closer to him, where then he was able to capture the child and then murder him. So do you really know the Muffin Man?